This is the America they don't put in textbooks. Jefferson County, Alabama, January 15, 1889. The body of George Meadows, hanged near the Pratt Mines. No trial, no jury. 1882. A black man hanged by a mob. His name lost to history. His fate shared by thousands across the South. Colonial America, a pillory and whipping post, punishment applied directly to the body. Delaware, circa 1907, 2 men locked in place, another tied below, waiting for the lash. Mississippi, a crowd of young men gathered at the curb. Executioner Jimmy Thompson stands beside a portable electric chair. Death made mobile. 1937. Roosevelt Towns and Robert McDaniels, victims of mob violence. These were the first photographs of such killings published by the national press. America finally saw what it had been ignoring. Washington, D.C., July 7, 1865. The Lincoln assassination conspirators meet their end. The scaffold drops. The crowd watches in silence. Sing Sing Prison, January 12, 1928. Ruth Snyder in the electric chair. Photographer Tom Howard strapped a hidden camera to his ankle. This image shocked the nation the next morning. Beaufort, South Carolina, Smith's Plantation. A large group of enslaved people standing in front of buildings. Property, not people. That was the law. A rare photograph found in a North Carolina attic. 2 enslaved children. A document with the photo details the sale of one child, named John, for $1,150 in 1854. A child with a price tag. Outside Savannah, 1850s. An enslaved family picking cotton, backs bent from sunrise to sunset. Freedom was just a word they weren't allowed to speak. Oklahoma, 1911. Laura Nelson and her son, L.D., hanged from a bridge. A crowd gathered below to pose for a photograph. They smiled. Charlotte, North Carolina, September 4, 1957. Dorothy Counts walks to school, the first African American at Harry Harding High. Behind her, a mob of white students mock and spit. She kept walking. University of Oklahoma, 1948. George McLaurin, the first African American accepted, but he wasn't allowed to sit with white students. He sat alone, segregated in plain sight. 1950s. A nuclear test captured by Harold Edgerton's Rapitronic camera. Shutter speed of 100 millionth of a second. 30 milliseconds of pure destruction frozen in time. Mid-20th century America. A drinking fountain labeled for African Americans only. Thirst was the same, the water was the same, but the fountains were not. Las Vegas, 1953. Swimmers at a motel pool watch an atomic bomb explode in the distance. Mushroom clouds had become tourist attractions. Augusta, Georgia, January 9, 1909. A young worker at the Globe Cotton Mill. Too small for the machines, too young to have a childhood. Birmingham, 1963. A mugshot of Martin Luther King Jr. after his arrest for participating in anti-segregation protests. They locked him up for wanting equality. Circa 1887, Harriet Tubman poses with her family and some of the people she helped free through the Underground Railroad. She risked everything and never lost a single soul.
1930, the Great Depression. Unemployed workers stand in line, each wearing a sign stating the type of work they can do. $1 for a day's labor. Dignity reduced to a cardboard sign.
Wounded Knee, South Dakota. U.S. soldiers bury the dead in a mass grave. Some bodies frozen in the positions they fell. Over 250 Lakota, men, women, children, massacred in a single day. Tom Torlino, Navajo. Before and after. The Carlisle Indian School's mission: erase the native, create the American. His hair cut. Fort Bowie, Arizona. Apache prisoners under U.S. military guard. Warriors reduced to captives. A people forced to surrender their homeland. Rosebud Indian Reservation, South Dakota. Lakota children before assimilation. Thomas New, Alice Slowfly, Harry with horns, standing little tail. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce, 1877. His first known portrait, taken shortly after surrender near the Canadian border. A 1,400-mile flight from the U.S. Army had ended in betrayal. His people would never see their homeland again. Kansas, 1879. 7 Cheyenne warriors chained as prisoners, accused of killing settlers during the Northern Cheyenne Exodus. The trial made national headlines. All charges eventually dismissed. Their ledger art from captivity survives to this day. Crow Creek, South Dakota. Bones unearthed from a massacre that occurred around 1325 AD, long before European contact. 486 people killed. Evidence that violence existed here long before colonizers arrived. Minnesota, 1862. People fleeing the Dakota War. This group, mixed-blood families, were rescued by non-hostile Dakota. The girl in the striped blanket is Elise Robertson. Her brother, Thomas, acted as an intermediary between warring sides. La Poille, Idaho, spring 1877. Chief Joseph's band of Nez Perce, photographed months before their desperate flight. They didn't know yet what was coming. By fall, everything would change. San Carlos Apache Reservation, late 1870s. Western Apaches receiving government rations. Once free, now dependent. Survival came with a cost. Their land, their way of life, their dignity. Dodge City, Kansas, 1872. The first dance hall, a grocery store, a general store. Men standing in the street beside wagons loaded with buffalo hides. The Wild West was open for business. Jesse James, photographed after Robert Ford shot him in the back while he adjusted a picture on the wall. America's most wanted outlaw, taken down by a coward looking for reward money. Ada, Oklahoma, 1909. 4 bodies hanging in a barn. Killin' Jim Miller and 3 others lynched by citizens tired of waiting for justice. Not pretty, but to them necessary. Deadwood, Dakota Territory, 1876. A gold rush town clinging to a hillside. Fortunes made and lost overnight. For most, the only gold they found was fool's gold and an early grave. Saloon number 10, Deadwood. The exact spot where Wild Bill Hickok was shot in the back of the head by Jack McCall during a poker game, August 2nd, 1876. He died holding aces and eights, the dead man's hand. A cowboy saloon in the 1800s. Men gambling, drinking, living on borrowed time. Fortunes won at the card table. lives lost before morning. 1880s, Old West bounty hunters pose for a rare photograph. Faces weathered by sun and violence, revolvers at the hip. These men tracked outlaws through deserts and canyons, for money, for justice, sometimes for revenge. The only authenticated photograph of Billy the Kid, a ferrotype kept by Lincoln County, New Mexico, sold at auction in 2011. One image of a man who became legend before he turned 21. The Jesse James Gang, 1870s. Bank robbers, train robbers, folk heroes to some, murderers to others. They terrorized the Midwest for over a decade until betrayal caught up with them. Klondike, 1890s. Madame Kate's traveling establishment. These women followed the gold rush, selling the only thing desperate men would pay more for than gold itself. Late 1800s. Women on a balcony, men gathered below. The public allure and private mysteries of the frontier's oldest trade. Everyone knew, no one talked about it. Arizona, a working lady poses for a portrait. In a land with few women and fewer opportunities, survival often meant compromise. Kentucky, a gentleman waits outside a frontier establishment. What happened behind closed doors stayed there. Discretion was part of the price. Alaska, 1890s. A saloon girl poses for the camera. Far from home, far from judgment. The frontier offered anonymity and demanded everything else. Two Alaskan women lift their skirts for the camera. Bold, defiant. In a lawless land, they played by their own rules. Storyville, New Orleans, 1912. The only legalized red light district in North America. It operated openly until the Navy shut it down in 1917. What was legal one day became criminal the next. 1880s, a portrait of a soiled dove in formal attire. Poised, dignified. Behind the photograph, struggles hidden from history. Klondike, women at a pool hall. They weren't just entertainment, they were business owners, survivors, playing the game in a world run by men. Inside a Texas establishment, a simple room, a bed, a mirror. For some women, this was survival. For others, a trap with no way out. White gowns, the trademark clothing of the frontier's working women. A uniform that meant one thing to everyone who saw it. Innocence was just a costume.
Tombstone, Arizona, 1884. John Heath hanged by a mob before he could stand trial. The courts were too slow. The rope was faster. Loup Valley, Nebraska, circa 1886. A pioneer family standing before their sod house. They came west chasing a dream. Most found only dust, drought, and endless work. Texas, 1896. William F. Taylor on the gallows. This image circulated in newspapers as a warning. Frontier justice was swift, public, and final. Step out of line, end up in a photograph like this. The Wild Bunch. Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, and the most notorious outlaws of the American West. They robbed banks, trains, and stagecoaches for over a decade. When the law closed in, they vanished into legend. A staged post-mortem photograph from the Old West. A body posed for the camera, proof, memorial, warning. Death wasn't hidden on the frontier, it was displayed. Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show. Native Americans performing for crowds who would never understand what had been taken from them. Entertainment built on tragedy. The Long Walk, 1863. Navajo and Apache prisoners marched across Arizona and New Mexico to Bosque Redondo. Many died from starvation, dehydration, and exposure. This photograph captures suffering that words cannot describe. Bonnie and Clyde, circa 1932-33, found by police at an abandoned hideout, America's most wanted lovers, robbing their way across the country. Their story ended in a hail of bullets on a Louisiana road.
Dodge City, between 1880 and 1885, one of the most famous photographs of the frontier. A town built on cattle, whiskey, and gunpowder. Law was whatever the fastest draw said it was.